Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Um, all praise, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is your brothers from the Hopeful Elect coming at you with another Sabbath discussion, class, lesson, breakdown, talking, whatever, But again, all praise, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Just for the opportunity to come, keep the Sabbath with the people, just for an opportunity to word. So I'm not lagging, am I? Am I lagging?
You're not lagging. It's pausing a little bit sometimes.
Hold on. Is my sound okay right now?
You sound straight. I mean, you sound straight. It's not bad.
I think it's just when I got my screen shared. I mean, not my screen share, but my camera on, the bandwidth be messing up, I feel like. But we're not gonna get all into that.
It sounds the same. It sounds the same. It don't sound bad. Even like sometimes when people be on Instagram, you be talking and it go out for a little bit, then it come back. It's like normal. Normal video, social media.
Yeah, I get it. Well, through the Spirit, like we say, Most High willing, this lesson will be kind of edifying in a sense. Not necessarily, you may not gain new revelation or something, but maybe Lord's willing, you can just kind of get an understanding about why this is titled, anybody can get this fade. So without further ado, let me go to the first precept, right? Let me go to Psalms 110. Psalms 111 and 10. Or is it 110 and 11? No, it's 111. Psalms chapter 111, verse number 10. And what I'm going to do is share my screen so you all can see where we're reading from. Right? Let me just zoom in a little bit. So this is the book of Psalms, chapter 111 and verse number 10. And it reads, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever." Right? So wanted to go here first, being that, again, the topic of this lesson is anybody can get this fade, right? But wanted to go to Psalms first, especially this verse in particular, because it highlights something important. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? And it says, following that, a good understanding have all they that do his commandments. So this is not going into talking about whom the Lord makes understand, whom the Lord's. No, this is going into the understanding of the fear of the Lord, right? And why it's important to do that, because one, anybody can get this fade, right? Let's go to another precept real quick. I'll do some reading. Job 28. Job chapter 28. And let's read verse 28. And it says, "Unto man he said, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And to depart from evil is understanding." Right? So the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Now, again, it's wise to fear the Lord. Why is it wise to fear the Lord? Because, again, anybody can get this fade, right? I'm going to say that kind of routinely, kind of repetitively, just to remind you what the sole purpose of this lesson is anybody can get this fade. And I'm not talking on a carnal level between man, between brethren, between sisters. I'm talking about on a spiritual level from the Most High God towards man. The Lord spareth not his rod, right? Let's go to one more precept. Let's go to one more precept, right? Dang, it just had it in my head. Let me go to the book of Hebrews, right? 10. Yeah, let's go to Hebrews 10, right? And I'll keep it wide for the most part. Because it says something in particular that I want to bring out and let the people know. Every time we get on live, y'all, just want to set the stage again, is that when we get on live and we may talk about something that we talked about before, always remember that it's maybe somebody that'll watch it that's never been aware, that's never heard this information. So you always want to do lives, and you may have covered the same topics, but sometimes you may bring out different information on this particular day than you did when you covered the same topic on that particular day. So everything is for the edification of the people, right? And let's start at verse number I don't want to start at 26, not because I don't want to read it, but because I want to get to the point. So let's start at 27, right? It says, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries, right? Verse 28, it says, he that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses, right? Of how much more sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy, who hath trodden under the foot the Son of God, and hath counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and hath done despite unto the Spirit of grace, right? For we know him that hath said, vengeance belongeth unto me, I will recompense, saith the Lord. And again, the Lord shall judge his people. Verse 31, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God, right? So Hebrews 10, 27 to 31. What else did we just read? Job 28, 28, Psalms 111 and 10. Want to emphasize and set precedent that anybody can get this fade from the Lord, right? No man is above reproach. That's the pretty much the word to say, right? Nobody is above the Lord's reproach, right? Anybody can be given over to anything that the Lord desires them to be given over unto, according to his will, because it's his will to be done, not ours, right? So the purpose for reading this is, I seen a post on Facebook, and pretty much it was a sister who had worked hard, saved up her money and stuff like that, yada, yada, woody woo, bought a car. A couple hours after purchasing the car, she gets into a car accident. Matter of fact, I'm going to share the post. I want y'all to see the screenshots to the post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to share the post so that way y'all can see the visual, because I know our people are visual learners sometimes. So let me share these pictures with y'all. I'm pulling them up on my I got to pull them up on my email because my phone. All right, let me real quick. But pretty much, man, the sister, again, worked hard, saved the money, got a car. You know what I'm saying? A couple hours later, she got it after having purchased the vehicle. She gets into an accident. Now, I'm a firm believer that thing happens out of the ordinary. It's not a coincidence that things happen. So let me I want to make it bigger. I want to low-key make it bigger. Let me see if y'all can see this, right? So boom. Had to go. Oh, let me see. I'm trying to scroll. There we go. So the caption says, had to go 2025 showroom floor. Who you know, right? And she says, "Thank y'all for always shopping with Candy Galore. I'm beyond blessed." Right? So nice car. She just got it, right? Um, now, no wait, let's click on this. Now, same girl, right? It went from had to go 2025 showroom floor on y'all to now she said, worst day of my life. I worked so excusing hard, man. Every day I worked. I'm devastated. I saved up for months, bro. I can't do nothing but cry. Right. So we can clearly see that in this picture, right? This post, it's literally a tale of two stories. You know what I'm saying? One at one point when she's leaving the dealership driving off the lot, it's the best day of her life. How quickly things change from the best day of her life, right, to the worst day of her life, as she described in the caption in the.
It must have been her fault too, man. She freaking out like that because if you got insurance and it wasn't your fault, you could buy this pretty much the same car. You know what I'm saying? They reimburse you. But if you acting like that, bro, probably was your fault.
Right. To some capacity, you know, like the brother said, you had to have some sort of that accident must have been really on you. You know what I'm saying? And even if it wasn't, uh, uh this is why we have the scriptures, right? Uh, this is why we have the scriptures to kind of give us an understanding of things that I guess you could say give us an understanding of things that we should be made aware of on this side of life, right? This is one of them, right? This is the book of Proverbs 11:4. It says, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. So I'm reading that because there's another precept that I got in mind. But I want to tie this into the picture that we see. Riches profit not in the day of wrath. There's a lot of people who have these possessions on earth, right? And they glory in them. And they make much of these possessions that we possess. It's nothing wrong with wanting to take care of everything that you have. It's nothing wrong with wanting to, you know, give the Lord praise and glory and honor for being able to allow you to have such possessions on this side of life. I'm not accusing the sister of glorying in her possessions, right? But what I'm saying is that we as a people, especially so-called Negroes in America, right? Because we've been an oppressed people in our lives, every time we get an opportunity to come up, we want to brag on it. You know, we want to show off. We want to show people what we got, you know? And at the end of the day, I'm not saying that everybody that does that is glorying in your possessions, but I can say that, you know, maybe if we cared much about the righteousness of the Lord as much as we do about having a 2025 showroom floor vehicle, a lot of things in life wouldn't happen. And this is why it's titled Anybody Can Get This Fade, because again, the Lord, he's not slack, you know, concerning his promise. And one thing this will lead me to is to say is this, right? I know the context of what Christ was saying, but follow me on this, right? Matthew 5, right? Let's go to Matthew 5. Let me share this tab and let's jump down to verse 45, right? I know the context what Christ was speaking on. It was talking about love your enemies. You know what I'm saying? Do good to them, right? Because that's what it says in verse 41, 42, 43, 44. But let's read verse 45. It says, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust, right? So the Lord sends rain on the ones who are doing good and the ones who are committing iniquity, right? That's why it's important to understand a few things. One, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God because, see, it's not about what Brother Isaiah perceives about how you celebrate your victories when it comes to finances, when it comes to materialistic possessions. It's about the Lord. right? The Lord is the one who truly knows the hearts, right? The Lord is the one who truly tries the reins. He knows your intentions more than I do. So it's not for me to say I don't think so and so was glorying in their possessions, because if that's what the Lord can clearly see, then guess what? The Lord will take that away from you just as fast as you received it, right? Go ahead.
Can you pull the picture back up of the car accident?
Yeah. Con.
This is how you could tell somebody is made an idol of something or glorifying earthly possessions. This girl, right? This young lady is young. I don't know how old she is, but you could tell she's young, right? If you scroll up a little bit more,
Con.
you scroll just a little bit more, trying to
Well,
read.
let me get out of it real quick, and then boom.
That's fine right there. That's fine right there.
Okay.
Right? She's fairly young. This is how you could tell that she's idolizing materialism, and ultimately, like the brother Isaiah is saying, is worshiping her possessions and not giving glory to God. Because in that first post, man, she didn't say thank God. She said thank you all for shopping with me. First of all, second of all, like I said, she's fairly young. She says this is the worst day of her life. She's still breathing. She's still alive. How could this be the worst day of her life? She hasn't even lived out her years yet. Letting you know that she held that possession over everything in her life. Because when it was destroyed, she felt like it was the worst day of her life. Right? I worked so hard every day. It don't matter if we work for earthly possessions. These earthly possessions come and go. So that's why, you're supposed to, not be a lazy person, but at the end of the day, whatever you have, your house, whatever you have, your animals, your dogs, your cattle, whatever you have in this life, if it was some natural disaster or anything was to happen, or say the judgment of the Lord, the day of the Lord came and everything was destroyed, you're supposed to be ready to give that stuff up and know that it means nothing.
Usually in posts like this, usually what people say, like typically cliche, but it'd be like, I made it out unscathed. Thank God. It could have been much worse.
Usually they say, I know he got something better for me or something like that. They don't say this is the worst day of my life. Right. And that's kind of
how he made it out alive when it clearly got smashed on the driver's side.
Yeah, this is supposed to be this post right here, instead of it being a dreadful post, it's supposed to be a testimony post, right? And that's how you could tell who's really in their word and who really follows God or not. Instead of it being a testimony post, it's a mourning post. And what are we mourning for? A vehicle, because she's still alive. But Con, I just wanted to point that out just to show, because I know you were trying to you didn't want to bear false witness on anybody or say somebody was holding a possession higher than they might be, but there's telltale signs in people's actions, right? Even from social media posts and captions. So I just wanted to bring that to light, man. The whole way that this situation was approached was definitely carnal.
Right, man. She was supposed to make this post, and she was supposed to put that Marvin Sapp behind it, man, as an instrumental. Never would have made it, or some song like that, man. There's one I had in my mind. I ain't gonna sing it though, yeah, man. This is the typical mindset of a lot of folks you see in the world today, right? But this was prophesied. What did it say? That in the end times, men will be lovers of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Not just men, but women too, right? We all have become narcissists in our own right. And social media helps us to become narcissists. That's why she feels the need to post all of this stuff, like the brother was going into, opening up this lesson.
What did it say in the New Testament? We must, through much tribulation, we got to go through it to get to the kingdom of heaven. And if something as simple as a car accident is going to rock your world, it's not looking too good for you to get into the kingdom of heaven. We're supposed to be cheerful when we're changed to a lower state.
Right? She's supposed to be singing, could have been dead and gone, but the Lord, he let me live on. Instead, man, she's singing the blues. You know what I'm saying? But like the brother Azrael just said, we're supposed to be joyful when this stuff happens.
Con, you know, and I got a couple examples to bring out in regard to this, right? First, let's go to this precept right here. This I guess you could say epistle by our beloved brother Timothy, right? This is First Timothy chapter 6. We're gonna start right here at verse 17, right? It says, teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Again, riches profit not in the day of wrath. That's Proverbs 11:4. So we got to understand that anything that we have on this side of life, especially if it's something, you know, newer, like a 2025, or, you know, you got an influx of money, or you got a nice house, don't make much of anything that the Lord gives you, because as soon as you can get it, it can leave you even faster than you received it, right? How you saved up all those months to get that showroom floor car, and then in the span of a few hours, all those weeks and days of blood, sweat, and tears and hard works came to naught, and it left you in shambles. Like the brother said, it rocked your world because you make too much of the possessions that the Lord blesses you with, right? And that's what we need to remember in this life, is that anybody can get this fade. The Lord will not turn his hand away from nobody. That's not me. That's not the brothers on the screen. There's nobody on the face of the earth that the Lord cannot cast down, that he cannot chastise, right? So we have to remember that anytime we gain something in life, we gotta kind of take it with salt, you know, take it for what it is. Don't make too much of it. You know, you don't gotta brag, you don't gotta boast. Me personally, I used to be the person that would want to post, but then as you get into the truth, you realize, what am I making a post about me getting a new vehicle for? You know, why do I want to really show off what I got? Because if anything, not only would it make other brothers and sisters jealous, right? And I don't want to provoke sin upon anybody, but also at the same time, it could put a target on your back by the wrong brothers and sisters because of that same jealousy, because of that same envy, right? I don't want the Lord to think about, I don't want it to be viewed in the Lord's eyes as, oh, he's making a post about this car, right? But he don't make a post, you know what I'm saying, when every time he read his word, every time he pray, you know what I'm saying? Just, even though that sounds trivial, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, again, I'm man. I'm not the most high. But like the brother said, there are telltale signs when someone is valuing the possessions of man over the riches of the most high, right? Our righteousness should be the thing that we boast about and glory in the most. And I'm not talking about just the works that you do. I'm talking about the faith coupled with the works. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Come on, man. And I want to say too, man, just to piggyback on what you're saying, just to back you up, man. This is a news flash for anybody, man. We think people care about our lives to a certain capacity, especially on social media, man. But it's important to understand and realize and know that people don't really care about what you got going on in your life. They don't care about what you have. They don't care about what you're going through. They don't care about your wins, and they really don't care about your losses. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people get carried away with the expectations of the people that follow them to have a certain level of care. But it's just, I mean, just think about yourself, right? I know me, for instance, right? I'm just being honest. If I scroll and I see somebody got a new vehicle or something like that, that's like, good for you, but that doesn't affect my life. So I really could care less. You know what I'm saying? But just think how many other people think that way when you're posting on social media and stuff like that, right? And so when you look at that, understand and know that more times than not, more evil is coming to your post than good. Just like the brother Isaiah just mentioned, right? You posting good stuff on your your wins on your social media page, because nobody ever wants to post the losses, right? But that could stir up covetousness and envy in people that's watching, right? And nowadays, we got all these folks out in the world doing EFA and voodoo and all this stuff. Next thing you know, your world's crashing down and you don't know why, right? And so just be smart, learn from the King Hezekiah, man. Don't let people into your life like that, right? I had to learn it. I'm glad I learned that lesson when I did, but back in the day, I used to be a young, flashy, Negro, and I used to post everything I did on social media all the time. But it takes maturity and a little bit of experience to understand that everybody doesn't have your best interests at heart, like the brother Isaiah was just going into.
Because everybody doesn't have your best interest at heart, man. That's the best way you could ever say it and sum it up, man. And this is Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, or some people say Sirach, chapter 11. And let's read verse number 4. What does it say? It says, boast not of thy clothing and raiment. Watch this. And exalt not thyself in the day of honor, right? Again, that goes into what the brothers were saying, especially Brother Azrael, when he said she didn't glorify God for this. You know what I'm saying? She was saying, thank you for shopping with me. Thanks for tapping in with me. Thanks for getting in with me. None of that reverence in that caption went to the Lord at all. Not even, we don't know this woman, and we're not even saying that she even believes in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But again, this is why we have wisdom, right? It says, boast not of thy clothing and raiment, and exalt not thyself in the day of honor. And that's exactly what she did. What does it say following that? For the works of the Lord are wonderful, and his works among men are hidden, right? Again, wonderful does not always mean necessarily good, right? Wonderful means, I ain't gonna say it means this, right? But sometimes the Bible talks in reverse. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about the Lord's wonderful works, every time the Lord did a wonderful work, it wasn't always good for everybody. You know what I'm saying? The Lord did a wonderful work for the children of Israel to bring them out of Egypt. But guess who was getting the short end of the stick when the Lord was working wonderfully in our lives? The Egyptians, right? So don't take Lord's wonderful work as in, oh, they're talking about the Lord is doing a good thing for all people. No, sometimes when it's talking about the Lord, wonderful works, it's just talking about the great works of the Lord, how great they are. What is it that's being done? It's talking more about the, I guess you could say, the ambiance of it, not necessarily the actual giving of the gifts, in a sense, if that makes sense at all, right? But let's scroll down, right? Let's scroll down. Let me read this. It says, prosperity and adversity, life and death, poverty and riches come of the Lord, right? So prosperity, in that moment, you prospered. But I'm led to believe that because you didn't take the wisdom that Sirach gives and not exalt yourself in the day of honor, the Lord sent quickly adversity into your life, right? And again, anybody can get paid, which is why it's important to know that when you're going through life and you're receiving what you believe are blessings from the Lord through materialism, you know what I'm saying? Don't boast in those things that you receive, right? Again, going back to 1 Timothy 6, what does it say? It says, teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. Tell them to use their money to do good. And I'm reading out the NLT. It says, tell them to use their money to do good. They should be rich in good works and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others. By doing this, they will be storing up their treasures as a good foundation for the future so that they may experience true life. Talking about the kingdom. Again, right? All of this is a part of wisdom. That's why we read Psalms 111 and 10 first. A good understanding have all they that keep his commandments. If we were people that sought after the righteousness of the Lord just as much as we seek to get a Birkin bag, just as much as we seek to get a record deal, we would be a people that really brought a lot more peace into our lives because we understand the commandments, right? We understand the judgments of the Lord. We understand that the Lord is not slack to turn his hand from anyone, right? But you have to realize that it's going to require you is going to require you to humble yourself down, right? Kill the pride within you, and really, instead of tapping in with you, start tapping in with the Lord. Dang, where was I? Oh, right here. Right. Let me see real quick. Let's go back to Sirach 11. What was, I know we was at, but it was a specific verse. Dang, it was a specific verse that I was looking for. Okay, 25 and 26. Here we go. Right. Let's read through 27. Salaki, real quick. I think Salaki. All right. So Sirach 11, let's start at verse 25, and it says, "In the day of prosperity, there is a forgetfulness of affliction, and in the day of affliction, there is no more remembrance of prosperity." Verse 26, "For it is an easy thing unto the Lord in the day of death to reward a man according to his ways." Right? Again, like the brothers was saying, most people will turn a car accident situation into a post, talking about God is so good. I could have died. I could have been dead. But the girl took the car accident post and say it's the worst day of her life because she lost the very thing that she trusted in, her riches. Right? Verse 27, it says, "The affliction of an hour maketh the man forget pleasure, and in his end, his deeds shall be discovered." At the end of the day, we're discovering the deeds of people who trust in their riches more than they trust in the righteousness of the Lord, more than we trust in our works that we commit unto the Lord, right? And this is the perspective in taking an approach of an angle of somebody who may not be a righteous person. Again, I'm not going to bear false witness, but like the brother said, the telltale signs could be there, right? Let's take a shift real quick. And let's go to the book of Job. Of course, we can't talk about how the Lord reigns on the just without bringing up the one person who said, "Hey, naked I came into this world, naked I'm just going to leave," right? Let's go to the book of Job. Let's start at verse 1, and we're not going to read the whole chapter, but we're going to kind of jump verses to hit the point home. So we just kind of talked about a little bit about how we can see that when people aren't walking in the righteousness of the Lord to an extent, as is the sister, right? You can kind of see how quickly the Lord can kind of cast you down because you're riding on that high horse. He can have that horse buck up against you. Now, let's see how it plays out for the Lord reigning on the just person, right? It says, "There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil," right? "And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, everyone his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them." Now, this is the beginning of the sorrows that the Lord sent on Job, right? Let's read. And it says, and it was so when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus Job did continually. So right there, we can see whatever his sons were doing, right? And we know what they were doing. They were celebrating their birthday to an extent, but that's just the way a certain translation reads it. But the party that they were having was it was of sinful nature, right? And Job made sacrifices on behalf of his children towards the Lord, right? Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, "Whence comest thou?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it." And the Lord said unto Satan, "Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, right? So Job is a perfect man. He's righteous. He's blameless, right? He's upright. Now the Lord is telling Satan, hey, have you considered Job? So now the Lord is finna send a rain on Job. Again, this is a just man. We always learn in church and we always learn in life kind of to an extent about how God will punish the wicked, right? And which is true. But let's remember the words of Christ. What does he say in Matthew 5:45? Let's read this one more time, right? It says that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust, right? On the just and on the unjust. So when the Most High said, have you considered my servant Job, right? Some people would think, well, why would God want to do that? Why would he want to do that? Why would he want to, make a good man go through X, Y, and Z? Again, because this is according to his plan, right? This is according to his will, like it reads in Romans 9. The Lord will have mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he hardeneth, he will. Right? Going back to Job 1, it says, then Satan answered the Lord and said, though Job fear God for naught, does he fear you for nothing, Lord? It says, hast thou not made an hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. So pretty much Job is a well-off man. The Lord has protected him on every side, all his possessions. He's doing well for himself. But put forth thy hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Satan is telling the Lord, Job is going to curse you if you allow me to touch any of these possessions and take them away from him. He's going to curse you to your face, right? Verse 12. Salakia. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So the Lord pretty much told Job, hey, look, you can touch everything he had but him himself, right? So then it goes onto all of these, situations pretty much. All of these afflictions that are beginning to happen, all because of that right there, right? I lied. I said I wasn't going to read it, but we might as well keep reading. Verse 13, and there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabians fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped to tell thee alone. So now Job just got his oxen took and his asses, right? Remember, he had a lot of oxen and a lot of asses, right? Verse 16. Somebody has something to say?
It's like,
Oh, it's a lot. My bad. I just can't see. So. But verse 16, it says, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven and hath burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee, right? So now his sheep and his servants are gone, right? Verse 17, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So now his camels are gone. So Job is losing everything. And this is happening like repetitively, back to back to back to back. It says, while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So pretty much, while Job is faced with one controversy, another controversy is presenting itself, just happening in real time. Imagine if you're on a normal day and you may be sitting in your car, you may be just scrolling on your phone, and then you get a knock on your door. Oh, somebody just stole your car. And I was trying to stop him, but I couldn't. So I come to tell you, and then soon in the midst of that person telling you that, then somebody else comes to tell you, oh, your mama just died. Then somebody else come to tell you, oh, you know, your bank account just got scammed and you ain't got no money in there, right? Similar stuff to today's time. That's how it was happening in Job's life, right? Pretty much reading all this, showing you all that, again, Job was an upright man who still lost it, right? Again, but this is for the this is that this is for the purpose of God, you know. This is for, you know, the Lord showing, and I'm not even saying the Lord showing, but this is for the understanding that, hey, look, the Lord is somebody who will always, I guess you could say, sit in the rain. Again, anybody can get this fade. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily a cliche thing to say, because if you look at the thumbnail on the video, right? The thumbnail to this video was a picture of this dude who they call Ninja Turtle, but his real name is Aaron the Plumber Guy. He done got famous over the course of the last couple months after his Pop the Balloon challenge he did, I think last year, right? But he's a pretty swole dude, and what he's known for is always being on go. He always wanting to fight. You know what I'm saying? He done got into a lot of squabbles since his, I guess you could say, 15 minutes of fame has started. And it's because he's somebody that says he never backed down from a fight. He never backed down from an opportunity, you know what I'm saying, to kind of like step up and hit with somebody. It's the same way with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is not backing down from nobody. Some people may think that you're not being touched right now because the Lord is, you know what I'm saying, dealing with you to an extent. It is my position that, like the brother Azrael and like the brothers Danal says when we be at camp sometimes, that you could think that the Lord is dealing with you, but realistically, the Lord just giving you enough rope to kind of hang yourself with to an extent. You know what I'm saying? Because again, when you have these possessions in life, when you live a certain way, you kind of start thinking that this way is the right way to live and this way is the right way to do it. So then you make the possessions your God and not actual the Most High God. Why do you make the possessions your God? Because again, whatever way you were living to get the possessions, you want to keep the possessions. So therefore, you're going to choose that way of life in the name of having the possessions, and therefore the possessions are now your God, right? It's no longer of the Most High, right? It's no longer His will. Go ahead.
Can you go to chapter 21 in this book?
Khan.
If you were done with this passage.
Nah. I wasn't done with it, but we can jump there real quick. We can jump there. Job 21. Right.
All right. Scroll down. Scroll down. Down. Right here. Job 21 and 22. Shall any teach God knowledge, seeing he judges those that are high? One dieth in his full strength, being wholly at ease and quiet. His breasts are full of milk, and his bones are moistened with marrow. And another dieth in the bitterness of his soul, and never eateth with pleasure. They shall lie down alike in the dust, and the worms shall cover them. Reading this just to say, whether you have many possessions or not, whether you are poor or not, we all die the same. And the poverty that you died with, or the riches that you died with, you can't take it when you're gone. And you sure as you, and the people that you pass it on to, you don't know what they're gonna do with what you had anyway, right? And then another reason why I'm reading this is too, to show you that God can send punishment on somebody that's poor, right? You may be like, well, he's already poor. Why is God still, making his life hard? God can do what he want to do. He can give somebody a hard time that's in bitterness and never eats pleasure. And then he can also touch somebody who's living in quiet and ease and got all the money they want. Because at the end of the day, God's doing what he's doing based off of what he wants to do, right? We see what he do with Job, what he wants to do. So we can't always take it to heart and say, And, you know, Job kind of went through this. He said, you know, I'm an upright man. I've always had charity, X, Y, and Z, why all this happened to me. And we see here in chapter 21, saying, look, like, and God could do what he wants to. He could touch you when you're at ease. He can touch you when you're struggling. And at the end of the day, this life is all for nothing in the first place. So it's like, who are we to esteem ourselves higher than the next just because of possessions or just because of the things that we do that we think are good, right? Because we can do good things all day. We can do good things all night. But, you know, ultimately, the Most High God knows our motives behind what we're doing. And ultimately, we're supposed to do good. So like, whether you get blessed for doing good or whether you don't get blessed for doing good, that doesn't negate the fact that you're supposed to do good. Just because you're living a hard life don't mean that you should do evil, right? Some people get blessed, some people don't. But at the end of the day, God will send his rain on whoever he wants to, right? You could be Job. He gonna send rain on you, right? You could be Haman or Haman, right? In the book of Esther. He'll send rain on you. Like you could be Pharaoh, he'll send rain on you. You know what I'm saying? You could do everything that you need to be doing right. And God was still send rain on you. For what purpose? Only he knows. We're supposed to live this life and do what's commanded of us regardless, though, right? Regardless of a car accident, regardless of losing a job, regardless of if we think we're doing the right thing and we don't deserve how we're being treated, right? Regardless, we're supposed to keep our head down, keep our hands to the plow, and don't look back. But
Con, and you said something, you know, which made me say, if you even go to the next verse, what does it say? It says, "Behold, I know your thoughts and the devices which ye wrongfully imagine against me." The Lord knows our thoughts, which is why, again, you can't play God. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean play God as in you can't put yourself in the position of God, but I mean you can't play God like you can't deceive him. You can't fool him. You can't trick him. You can deceive yourself. You can deceive man. But the one person you'll never be able to deceive is the one who created you, the one who knows all things, right? So that's a mighty point, right? Which is why we can even jump down to verse number what does it say? 21, right? Well, let's do 20. Verse 20 in Job chapter 1, it says, "Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped and said, Naked I came out of my mother's womb." It says, "Naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Verse 22, "In all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly." So think about how mighty that is, that Job just lost his children, his cattle, his servants, his sheep, his camels. He lost all his possessions in minutes, and he still didn't curse God. He didn't even say, "This is the worst day of my life," right? In that particular moment right there that we read in verse 21. But what Job did down is he fell before the face of the Lord and began to worship. He said, "Blessed be the name of the Lord," after all this. But then we see earlier, like with the pictures that we displayed, someone, the sister, she didn't take the opportunity to bless God for just losing something simple as a car, right? Still in good health, still has a body, still has a mind, right? Probably if she has children, still has a children. And if she doesn't have children, she still has a home to go to, right? She still has a job, a way to make money. She still has a phone. But because of you lost your possession that you gloried in the most, you said, "This is the worst day of my life," right? And this is important for everybody to know, that, again, never make too much of your actions and never make too much of what you possess, because the Lord can and will send rain on you. It's just that simple. You're going to be judged by the things that you do. You're going to be judged by the things that you say. And you're also going to be judged by the things that you supposedly didn't know, right? Because the brother Azrael said it before. Just because you don't know something is a sin don't mean that you won't be held accountable for committing it, right? This is why it says, Psalms 111:10, "A good understanding have all they that keep his commandments." This is why we're people that needs to seek after the righteousness of the Lord. I want to bring up one more point, and then we can end. Because the brother Azrael, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but the brother Azrael said something that made me think about it. Right. This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 3. Let me start at verse number. Let me see. Well, I wanted to start at. Let me start at verse number 1, because we're not gonna read this whole chapter. I promise. I'm gonna get to the point. But let's start at verse 1. It says, "In the 30th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babylon and lay troubled upon my bed. And my thoughts came up over my heart, for I saw the desolation of Sion, which is Zion, and the wealth of them that dwelt at Babylon. And my spirit was sore moved, so that I began to speak words full of fear up to the Most High, and said, O Lord, who bearest rule? Thou spakest at the beginning, and when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people, and gavest the body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, and didst breathe in him to the breath of life, and he was made living before thee," right? "And lendest him into paradise with thy right hand, which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him and in his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number. And every people walked after their own will and did wonderful things before thee and despised thy commandments," right? So he's going into pretty much, what happened since the beginning of time, right? But emphasize the commandments, right? Let's read this. "Now, when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them whose name was Abraham," right? This is Second Esdras chapter 3 and verse 13. Let's read verse 14. "Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou shewest thy will." Verse 15. "And made an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed." So when we teach on the streets and people talk about, the covenant that the Lord set up with Israel, we always go back to Abraham, because that's who the covenant was originally made with, right? It wasn't made with Ishmael. It was made with Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, from Jacob to his seed, and that the Lord wouldn't forsake it. That's what's being spoken about right now. "And unto him," verse 16, "unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau, set Esau to the side. And so Jacob became a great multitude," right? So this is talking about the covenant that he established, right? Let's jump down, right? Let's jump down to verse number I wanted to go to the point, which is in 36, but I wanted to get some context of why he's saying this. Let's jump down to verse number 30, right? It says, "For I have seen how thou sufferest them sinning, and hast spared wicked doers, and hast destroyed thy people, and hast preserved thine enemies, and hast not signified it," right? "I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion?" So pretty much what's being said here is that you made a covenant with this people. You gave this people law. You gave them a heritage. You'd have seen them do some things, but then you see the enemies. And when we broke the covenant, our enemies started pretty much being Lord over us, to an extent, right? It says, "Or is there any other people that knoweth thee beside Israel? Or what generation have so believed thy covenants as Jacob?" He's pretty much venting about how he feel like it's unfair that other nations are prospering. They're not being put to death for their transgressions. We are. They're not being persecuted like we are. They're reigning over us, and we should be reigning over them. This is pretty much what's being talked about right now. Verse 33, it says, "And yet their reward appeareth not," meaning that they're not being rewarded for their actions, right? "And their labor hath no fruit, For I have gone here and through the heathen, and I seen that they flow in wealth and think not upon thy commandments. He's saying we don't get a reward for keeping the commandments, but I see the heathen don't have no commandments to keep, and they flowing in wealth. What's going on? Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world. So shall, let me read it again. And so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So the point of reading this is not to go into the heathen in Israel. The point of reading this is to understand and establish that, again, sometimes in life, we forget that it's not about what anybody else does, it's about us, right? We're so focused on the heathen being prosperous, right? And you'll see in chapter 4, how that conversation and I guess you could say vent session from Ezra to the Lord plays out. But again, sometimes we're so caught up in, I've done this, I've done that, I've done X, Y, and Z, right? They haven't done this, they haven't done that, they haven't done X, Y, and Z. And we try to kind of, I guess you could say, not gaslight the Lord, but what's the better way to explain that? We kind of try to like play on the Lord's emotions with our own lives, but not even realizing that, yeah, he made a covenant with the people, but at the end of the day, the people transgressed. He sent rain upon them for it. And even when the people were walking uprightly, now, if the people had walked uprightly, it is my position that the Lord would have never sent rain on them. But because we broke the covenant, he did. And now people have a problem with it. And sometimes you got to remember that, again, the Lord sends rain on the just as well as the unjust. Because his position is the other nations have never been just. So why do they receive the blessings? And even though we did transgress, they never were righteous at any point, but we were. So why are we being faulted for X, Y, and Z? Again, you made a covenant with the Lord. He sends the rain on the just and the unjust. Anybody can get this fade, even the people whom he had chosen. Even the people whom he had chosen, right? So in closing, saying all that to say and reading all that to read that, again, let's close it on a precept, right? And I'll go to Sirach 35. 35, right? And I'll read verse number 18. What does it say? It says, Sirach 35 and 18, it says, for the Lord will not be slack, neither will the mighty be patient toward them, till he have smitten in sunder the lions of the unmerciful, and repaid vengeance to the heathen, till he have taken away the multitude of the proud, and broken the scepter of the unrighteous, till he have rendered to every man according to his deeds, and to the works of men according to their devices, till he have judged the cause of his people, and made them to rejoice in his mercy, right? So let's finish verse 20. It says, mercy is seasonable in the time of affliction, as clouds of rain in the time of drought, right? Pretty much that's saying, hey, when you afflicted, you need mercy, right? Just like you need rain when it's hot outside, it's 100 degrees, and you ain't got no harvest, right? You dying of thirst. Saying all that to say, man, hey, look, the Lord is not slack. Anybody can get this fade. He's trying to rid the proud, right? Everybody's not going to be able to inherit everybody is not going to be able to inherit the kingdom. Everyone will not be partakers of the covenant, right? So you got to realize that, again, you have to do what you got to do on a personal level. Even when the Lord is sending rain upon you, you got to kind of respond like Job and not respond like the sister did. Because at the end of the day, the rain is going to come. You already got to expect it. You just got to prepare your field for it. And this wise, you got to prepare your mind. You got to understand that the possessions that you have can be taken away. It doesn't matter how you think you live, and it doesn't matter if you think you keeping the commandments. It doesn't matter what you think you're doing right for the Lord, right? You have to be prepared that the Lord can take you away from whatever that you have in your life, right? Anybody can get this fade. But with that, I have nothing else to add. Do the brothers have anything to add?
I want to say that was a good lesson. First of all, man, it's a lesson that we all need to kind of digest, man. And sometimes we forget about it. Now, man. On the Shabbat, man, I had a conversation with my wife, man. This is a side note, but we want to do a little bit better in what we consume on the Sabbath, and so we watch a lot of Christian based movies now on the Sabbath, right? And today's movie. It was on Netflix. It's called Walk, Run, Ride, right? And we were watching it this morning, and it just goes kind of good with this whole lesson because it's about a young girl. She was a barrel racer. She rode horses in the rodeo, and she got in this real bad accident. She was the number one barrel racer in her age group, and she was headed to like the NFR or something like that, right? And she got into this bad truck accident where she ends up getting paralyzed from the waist down. It's based off a true story. And after she gets out the hospital, she finally they rig up her horse to where she can sit on her horse and actually ride again a little bit. And so her mom, she goes on this horse ride with her mom, and her mom is kind of just telling her because she's still gung ho about doing rodeos, even though she has no movement or feeling in her legs. And her mom's like, maybe you should just hang it up and just start coaching. And so she ends up getting mad at her mom, and then she said a couple things like, "Why would God give me this ability and this talent and this skill and take it all away?" Right? And then she goes on to say stuff like, "I wish he just would have killed me in that accident, and not left me like this." And her mom's like, "Nah, what are you saying? You don't know that I thank God every day that you're alive, even if you're in this wheelchair or not. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing, right?" Again, it's sort of like the car accident that we run over today, right? But one thing I want to highlight is the fact that she didn't realize that she had made riding horses a god, right? And earlier in the movie, her mom used to tell her, "Hey, look, man, come inside, right? Or that's enough for tonight. I'll take the saddle off and groom your horse. Go get ready for school and go get ready to go to bed so you go to school in the morning," stuff like that. And she'll say stuff like, your head's just been on your horse this whole time. You've missed X amount of your brother's games. You missed X amount of your sister's contests, X, Y, and Z. You're not around the family no more. And she had made horse riding a god to where it was taken away from her family, right? And God ultimately, right? And she was blinded from this, and she didn't even realize until she got into this accident, and that whole ability of what I'm saying, riding was taken away from her. She said, I think I'm paraphrasing, but she said something along the lines of, "When I was young, nobody could get me off my horse," right? And I looked over to my wife and I started chuckling. I said, "But God," because God literally took her to where she wasn't able to do the same thing she was able to do no more, right? Just to emphasize this lesson, man, it was a beautiful lesson. Anybody can catch a fade, you know what I'm saying? And even when you least expect it. So one thing I would like to encourage everybody to dig deep into their life and find something, right, that may be an idol in their life, or something that could be on the track to being an idol in your life, and eliminate it ASAP. That's all I got to say.
Man, that last precept that you pulled, talking about mercy's seasonable, right? If we ask ourselves what the opposite of mercy, we know the opposite of mercy is judgment. So if mercy's seasonable, judgment's seasonable too. And this thing called life, we're gonna all have ups and downs, but just know that everything is seasonal. Everything, with time, things change. So you just gotta hold on to whichever part of life you're in right now. You might be in a season of mercy and grace, or you might be in a season of judgment. But just know anybody can get the judgment from God, and anybody can get the mercy from God. That's a tough one to swallow too, because some people you may think don't deserve mercy, right? And you can substitute those out for like what the brother has in the title, a fade, right? Anybody can get that. So yeah, I yield with that. Mighty lesson.
Come on, man. Well, with that, man, we're gonna say, hey, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Most High willing, this video was edifying. And again, like the brother said, man, hey, Find an idol, find something that you're making a God, and do away with it, and at the same time understand that the opposite of mercy is judgment, because it doesn't matter what season you in, you got to be ready to respond, right? Ain't no off season when it comes to serving the Lord. There may be an off season in sports, but ain't no off season when it comes to serving the Lord. So you got to be instant in season, every season, right? But with that, brothers from the Hopeful Elect signing off, saying have a peaceful and blessed rest of your Sabbath day. But shalom.
Shalom.